Mojang has a problem with redstone, and it begins with this, the world's smallest combination lock. I was trying to break this world record live on stream, and just after 50 minutes, me, Sacred, and Purple had made a smaller design that worked. Except for one small problem. We needed a block with a combination of some very specific properties that didn't exist. Oh, wait, but that's transparent.
But it's not solid.
Oh, dude. If we had a solid container that could redirect redstone, that'd be huge. So, we abandoned that design and toyed around with other ideas for another 3 hours. Until suddenly, one of my channel members made one simple suggestion. Use jukeboxes. Now, you may be wondering, why jukeboxes? What's so special about them? Well, in 1.19.4, Mojang added extra functionality to make them more similar to how they work in Bedrock Edition. And it turned out that was exactly what we needed at the start of the stream.
That would be exactly what we need, but it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist.
So yeah, that means Purple lied to me. How dare you, you liar.
So our problem was solved by Mojang improving an old block, not adding a new one. In fact, none of the newest redstone stuff has been very useful at all. Chiseled bookshelves are nice, but they're nothing to write home about. And skulk sensors would have been amazing if they weren't so clunky. This has been a recurring theme over the years. The last genuinely useful block we got was the target block. Now, I want you to guess why. What is the target block used for? Is it A, a target, B, a target, C, a target, or D, a target? Well, if you guessed any of these, you're wrong. Target blocks are mostly used to make redstone point into them. That's it. It's very useful for redstoners, but it's very detached from their main purpose of detecting when you shoot them.
It works the other way too. Sometimes Mojang makes random changes to components that almost ruin them. In 1.19 snapshot, they changed note blocks so you can only mute them using wool. This was to make it consistent with the skulk sensor's wool occlusion feature. But many redstoners were outraged because their previously silent redstone was now extremely noisy. So Mojang heard all that and pressed the undo button. A lesser known example is when they tried making pistons solid blocks. This meant that all existing flying machines were now giant lag machines, because as they move, they'd be constantly spamming light updates below them. Oh, and it also broke basically every piston door ever. And although these changes never made it into a full release, unfortunately, some of them do. You guys remember piston translocation, that really cool bug where you could teleport through pistons? No? Well, that's because it doesn't exist now. Before that, we had the Jeb extender. Well, not anymore. That's also gone. Because they hate us. This
is not to say Mojang has never created a good redstone feature. In fact, there's been several updates that brought some really nice redstone additions, like the slime block, the observer, and more recently, bubble columns and honey blocks. But there's one key difference between these features and new blocks like the skulk sensor: the players. Nearly all the features we just mentioned had huge contributions made by the player base. Back when slime blocks were first introduced, they never had the ability to stick to other blocks. That feature was inspired by a troll video from a YouTuber named Crafted. Honey blocks were originally no different to slime, until the players convinced Mojang to include the sliding mechanic it's used for today.
Bubble columns were added shortly after Mojang patched a bug that allowed players to use glass as an item elevator.
Also known as the test elevator.
Purple. No one cares! They served as an official replacement that didn't rely on bugs and was, in the end, better because it could transport more than just items. It could also transport players and mobs.
The Observer started out as a way of having block update detectors in Bedrock Edition, even though they technically didn't work the same. And then when it was brought over to Java Edition, it was very overpowered, quickly surpassing every other redstone component because of its versatility.
Ironically, the best redstone features came either as a replacement or by accident.
Much like Crafty's subscribers.
Hey, what the frick?
And just like Crafty, the best things to ever happen to redstone were small changes. Remember how Mojang almost ruined the note block? Well, they also accidentally made it one of the most useful redstone components ever. In 1.13, the note blocks got some new instruments, and while they were working on this, they made it so observers could detect when the instruments changed. But as a side effect, when you powered a note block, it would trigger observers and update pistons.
But Purple, why is that useful?
Okay, no, wait. Well, Purple inside my head, almost everything else that could trigger observers was noisy, and it gave us a way to QC power pistons in a 1x1 space. Note blocks quickly became a staple of modern redstone, along with observers, making contraptions a lot smaller. And that brings us back to the jukebox. After 1.19.4, we'll probably see them being used a lot more.
Because just like the observer, they become a one-block solution to basically everything by combining every useful redstone component into one. It is literally a redstone block that you can turn on and off and control with 15 possible durations. Playing a disc inside a jukebox can power redstone around it for the length of the disc. Not only can you control time though, you can also control space.
No, you can't.
Well, Thanks for ruining my dreams, Purple. I hate you now. As of right now, there are 15 different music discs, meaning that each one has a unique signal strength that can be read by a comparator. Being a container also means that you get all the benefits of interacting with hoppers and droppers, pleasing all those
Storage thick is my passion.
and it's a solid block that redirects redstone, so it's basically a target block. But it's also immovable, so now we have options for both scenarios. So if you ever need a redstone block, barrel, obsidian, target, hopper, timer all in one, then the jukebox is just for you.
It's these kinds of niche properties that redstoners want from new blocks, so when we get stuck on a specific redstone problem, we have more ways to solve it. But most of the time, Mojang only gives us these properties when they change an existing block, and there's something kind of wrong there. It shouldn't be that redstoners are more excited about a quality of life change than a shiny brand new thing.
Or to put it simply, quality of life changes fix old problems, new blocks create new problems. It may be a while before we get another redstone update that gets players hyped, but why don't we look at a redstone update that did just that?
You should subscribe to mine anyways because I'm Crafty Masterman and I need to have more subs than him, but he has more subs than me, so we need to get more subs than him. So subscribe, okay?